Can you hear me at the back? Can you hear me at the back okay? How's your day been so far? Good? Enjoyed it? Sweet. This is going to be short, sweet, brutal, and requires audience participation. So you have been warned. I'm sorry you can't see the slides very well, but the sunlight's pretty brutal on this. And I might have used AI in the background, which you can't see anyway. So this talk is about kind of like that spider sense that we get as testers, of like, that feels a little bit uncomfortable. And the analogy, or the story I'm going to tell a little bit on how that came to being was, when I was in the Air Force as an engineer, I was asked to go and look at a task. And there was a lot of pressure at the time. And I was basically they said to me, Steve, how long does it take to do that? And is it good? I said, it takes as long as it takes me to do it. And I'm not sure what you mean by good. It's either hits a standard or it doesn't. And that felt like a really uncomfortable conversation to have in front of someone much more senior than me. I didn't really understand the context at the time, what that uncomfortable feeling was or why I had it. Looking back at it now, looking at my testing career, I kind of understand where that came from. And I'm hoping you get a feeling from that from this talk. And then when you get that feeling, what do we do with that feeling? And how do we act upon it? So a little bit of background first. If you've never heard me before or seen me before, Stephen Platten, I've been in testing for a while. I go by the pseudonym of the Stoic Tester on LinkedIn. I've done a couple of different conference talks on a few different things. I'm in the Ministry of Testing in a couple of other places, so search for me, big ginger face, so you can't miss me. I'm sure you'll find us. So, first bit of audience participation. I might have to read this out. It's going to work? We just worked. IT problems. Hey! So, quick question. Have you been testing something where it just didn't feel right? Hands up. Pretty much a full house. So, if anyone's willing to answer the question, what was that? What was that? Has anyone got any examples they'd like to share? Yeah, go for it. You're going to speak. I'm pointing at you.
Yes, yeah, I opened my mouth. Yes, I just felt felt disconnected about the communication, what was being delivered, the understanding of what should be delivered.
Yeah. So often it's like that unspoken language. We want to say something, but we don't feel comfortable to, or someone's saying something to us that we don't feel comfortable and we want to hit back. So I think we've all had that feeling by the looks of the hands up, and I think it's pretty common as testers that we experience that. So what does that mean? What does that feeling mean? It doesn't mean that something's necessarily broken or something's failing, just that we're uncomfortable. And that discomfort, that feeling, I'm going to say that a lot, fair enough, is something that I think we need to lean on, and something you develop as testers throughout your years. And it's where we start to move from being the nuts and bolts testers that we are, executing test cases, writing stuff down, to like getting a feel for something, a feel for the quality of the product, a feel for the type of organization that I'm working in, a feel for how the client wants to work and wants to interact. It's something you develop over time through experience, but I think it's also something you can learn. To another question, I told you there's lots. So have you ever signed something off into production that you didn't feel comfortable to do so? There's some lies in the room. Okay, less than before. I've definitely done that in both cases. So why did we do that? Anyone would like to share? I'm not going to ask you, Sam, because you're going to give me an answer.
When I was quite junior, I just joined a new team, and I think that I didn't feel confident enough in saying that I didn't understand what was going on. And what happened was I was on an energy team, energy switching.
Yep.
And we tested something from our test environment into British Gas's prod FTP server, and basically we changed loads of addresses that people were using in testing to not, and it shouldn't have happened. And it was all because I didn't really know what I was agreeing to, and therefore we never switched it back. For months. It was terrible.
So that's not on. Thank you for sharing. Not an uncommon story. I've definitely signed stuff off into production that I was like, shouldn't have done that. Luckily, nothing really exploded too much, so maybe I've been lucky. But again, why did we not act on that discomfort, on that feeling? What stopped us from going, hang on a minute? Have we thought maybe we shouldn't do that? So often it's cultural reasons, so we don't get on or maybe the stakeholders that you're working with, the way that people communicate, or maybe the expectations of your role, or isn't being made clear to you, in Lauren's case, what that actually means. What could happen if things go wrong? So because I've come from an Air Force background, maybe the ramifications of me signing something off were a bit more clear to me. It would be a big smoking hole in the ground. So maybe I'm more risk adverse in terms of signing things off. But at the same time, now that I don't work on the systems anymore, I'm actually quite more open to signing things off that are a little bit more high risk. Because worst case, someone's going to have a bad experience, not necessarily resulting in someone's death. But case by case basis, obviously. So what is that feeling? That's not just like an inconvenience. Well, didn't enjoy that cab meeting. That was really awful. We had to sign that off. But anyway, it's done now. That's not inconvenience. That's your own experiences and you as a tester telling yourself, we should have done something differently there. Not necessarily said something in that scenario, but maybe there's some testing we should have done at the start. Maybe there's a conversation we could have had with somebody beforehand. I'll take a practical example in that cab that we did there, where I was almost forced into cab to sign something off, is having those conversations beforehand with people individually before they go in cab. Because funny enough, when you one-to-one somebody in a conversation, it's very different when there's a big group committee all judging on what should or shouldn't happen. So have those conversations. Again, it's a signal for us to act upon, not something we can just dismiss. And again, I think it just comes naturally through experience. So what do we do when we ignore the signal, right? So we try to kind of fight against it. So we try and slow things down. So can we maybe do the production release next week? There's some more tests we want to do. Again, the stakeholders not necessarily going to let that fly. Or worst case, we just like, well, we can't stop it. We've got to block this. It can't go through. We escalate and we blow the situation up. Again, it could make things worse. Or in the case that we outlined there, we could just feel really awkward and we just avoid it. Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, Steve, we signed it off. Yeah, it's okay. I can't hear. Yeah, it's fine. Cheers. Just going to sign off. I can hear what you said. I'm just going to sign off. Right, that's how we kind of behave around it. So for me, the friction is a misalignment between people expectations and reality, which is a very stoic thing to think about, funny enough. And it shows up where that understanding between us breaks down. So where one stakeholder thinks the quality of the product is one thing, the testers know something very different, infrastructure sees something completely different, your BAU team something very different. So that disconnection between what we expect to happen, people's expectations, and the reality of the product, that's where that friction exists. And we should lean into when it happens and act upon it. And that's where it breaks down. So there's different types of friction. Most of the things I've spoken about here are kind of more cultural, I guess, and communications based, but there's lots of different types. I'm not going to go for an exhaustive list here, but let's see what we can do. So there's the social friction, which is maybe Lauren's example there, where the interaction between me and my peer group or larger peer group, it just doesn't feel right. I'm feeling forced, I'm feeling cornered, I'm feeling like accused, I'm feeling attacked. So I don't feel like this comfortable feeling, I feel like I'm pushing it. So what do? We avoid the conflict, or we downplay the risk. Oh, it's not that bad. The chances of something happening are pretty slim. I'm not going to worry about it. There's the ownership friction, which I think is probably the most common one that we have, or certainly the most common one that I experience myself, is whose problem is this? If this explodes, whose problem is it? Well, it'll probably come back to QA at some point. If you're old school, we normally get pointed at. I think that's maybe changed a little bit. I don't know. But that certainly used to be the case. So what do we do around that? People are silent in calls, and we create workarounds. I'd just like to flag that we haven't pen tested this product, and it's going to go live in a week. Yeah, someone should do something about that. Silence. Nobody says anything. Then it comes to cab. I'm going to use cab as an example again. Infrastructure, InfoSec team. This been pen tested. Funny enough, I did mention this last week. No, we haven't done anything about it. Ownership friction. And then cognitive friction, which I think in the age of AI, said the word, promised I wouldn't, is I don't understand this, right? As testers, there's an enormous amount of pressure to understand something that you've never built yourself. You're probably not a developer at heart, right? Understand an incredibly complex system with complex requirements in an industry you don't work on and a technology you're not familiar with. You should be able to learn all that and then test it. Sure, I'll have a go. Right? Often we don't understand the thing we're even testing to a degree that we feel comfortable with. Again, creates that discomfort. So again, what do we do in that scenario? We rush to sound things off, because then I'm not worrying about it anymore. It's off my plate. Or we don't question. Because if I ask questions, it's going to highlight that I don't know about it. So I don't want to ask stupid questions to develop about how something works, because I don't look like an idiot. Because I don't want to feel the friction. The friction is a good thing. So I'm going to try and fit this into a handy acronym. This next part, hopefully, is a bit of a framework you can work through, and then 2 examples of that. What this framework would look like in practicality, and then we're going to ask some questions because I've got a train to catch. How much I love you all. So, very inventive. The acronym is friction. So, it took me, and AI did not help with this at all. All my own work. I always use the word normalise and optimise. Very Steve words. Don't read too much about the acronym. It's hopefully the next point I want you to take from it. I just found it funny when I asked it to make it. So the first 4, I've done this in, the colours are a bit awful, I apologise, but I'll try and read these out. So the first one, feeling it, right? So feeling that discomfort that I spoke about, feeling that doesn't feel great. So that moment is just something just doesn't sit right with you. Understand that thing has happened. So I had the idea of cognitive distance. So creating the distance between the thing that you're feeling and the thing that I'm going to do about it, right, ultimately. Again, a very Stoic principle, funny enough. So, feel uncomfortable. What do I feel uncomfortable for? This should now trigger a train of thought, which is this framework is trying to help you with. Recognizing, so what is the type of friction that I am feeling? Why do I feel it? He asked me about those APIs, and I don't even know how they work. Oh, I should really ask him about that. That's where that discomfort's come from. I recognized it. Where did it come from? So interpreting it, I can't control the interaction there, but I can control how I interact with that person. So I can't control the fact that I don't know about that architecture, but I can control the way that I speak to the person about it, right? And how I make that connection. So building a common understanding that friction is a thing that we're all feeling, or certainly I am. Sorry guys, I'm a bit uncomfortable because I don't understand how this works or how this thing interacts with another thing. Okay, Steve, cool, that's a really interesting point. Oh, actually, I don't know how that works either. Great, can we all explain it and understand, create common ground? Again, you can't have that conversation if you don't recognize the discomfort from the friction that you're feeling. Next one is test. Again, very easy for AI to give me that one. So now test that proposition. So in my example of I don't understand the system, is that true? Put that to the test. Ask those questions and bring that discomfort out. Make it public in a forum that's constructive and collectively pull together and see if we can work on it. Next, influence. God, I hate the acronym already. Improve how we interact after the fact. So if I use my cab example, where I said, I'm just going to sign it off. And then everyone was like, it exploded in production, and I got a bit of a chowing at. Next time, I was prepped for cab. I understood the product in more detail, I understood the team in more detail, I understood the risk in more detail. I was more confident and articulate about saying, no, not right now. Very much a Gandalf. Put my little stick down. You cannot cross. Unfortunately, as testers, have to do that, right? That's something we take for granted, is that you're the person or the people saying no when everyone else wants to say yes. That isn't an easy place to be, right? So that discomfort, that friction, that's where that comes from. Is everyone in the business is going all steam ahead. Let's make this amazing thing and put it over the finish line. And you're going, that wheel doesn't look great. Right? That's hard when everyone else is this way and you're against it. So influence, creating that influence within the organization, the client, the group that you're working in, build it up. Optimize, thank you AI again. Can we prevent this from happening again? So in my example of the pen testing thing, that wasn't picked up because they didn't involve InfoSec at the start of the process, right at the start of the life cycle. It was an afterthought at cab, maybe we should chat to them. Poor process for the client in that instance, who remain nameless. Sam knows who they are. And then normalize these types of conversations. So make this kind of thing commonplace for us to do and talk about. Don't feel awkward about it. If you're doing it consistently, people just trust your judgment on things, and it becomes you're providing a trusted opinion in a forum of your peer group, as opposed to being pushed to one side or ignored or largely mitigated against. So consider that as a proposition, right? I want you to try and recognise that you have the feeling. Where does the feeling come from? Attack the problem where that feeling came from, understand it, and then try to normalise the conversation and influence it upstream. And for me, jabbering, I now need to get 2 volunteers. I told you there's participation. I'm very excited. Can I have 2 volunteers to stand up, please? Nobody? Sam and Ben, there you go. Oh, you're closer. I need one of the. You go. You're gonna have to do lots of stuff, so there's lots of pressure on you. So you can stand right here.
Yep.
Ben's gonna stand right here. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, cheers. I'm gonna be Ben. So we're gonna do some role play. You're gonna be a stakeholder who hates all testers. So just channel that. Got it.
Lots of flashbacks.
Ben, you're gonna be a tester.
Hey.
If you need more like just a position of how to do that, I can give you some background.
Yeah, no clue. Not done
Okay.
this before.
So all I'm going to ask you to guys is move forwards when I say, and basically stop in the middle. The way that these conversations tend to go and why they don't work is because we do this. This person, Lee, wants to get his product over the line. Ben's found a problem that's making him feel uncomfortable, and he wants to tell him to stop. So what Ben does is he just walk towards Lee and stop in front of him. He tries to meet Lee there. Right, Lee, do something about it right now. Right? It's important. I want you to do something about it now. It's catastrophic. Guess what? Lee doesn't like that. You will go back up there, Ben. Thank you very much. It's amazing. That kind of interaction doesn't work, right? You can't come all gun blazing and kick the door down. There's going to be an issue in production if we don't fix this. They're not going to listen. Right, I have done that before. Maybe. And a superhero shout on instead. So instead of using my framework, you want to build this up. So instead, Ben might go, I just want you to take one step forward, Ben. Ben might say, I've just got a bit of concerns about how the architecture's been built. Lee goes, that's interesting, Ben. Moves closer to Ben's viewpoint. I go for it. I'm getting tired. Ben, thank you, Ben.
You should start to tell us to move.
Ben goes, before we go to cab, we might want to consider X, Y, and Z because there might be questions about it. Lee goes, excellent point about the product, and moves closer to his viewpoint. When the more, you notice they're both in the middle. Amazing participants. Remember, they're both in the middle right now, right? They're not at the polar ends of their arguments. They're in the middle. And the friction that they're feeling is lessened and lessened and lessened because they've talked about it. We've outlined it at different points in an adult conversation. We've had little increments of getting close to each other's viewpoints. So you're more likely to find common ground here than you are over here, and you run at them full guns blazing. And the converse is true if you go back to your places. Thank you very much. How many times has this happened? Product owner or equivalent has said, we just need to get it tested. So he's gone all the way over here and just gone, you've got 2 weeks to get that done. And then just disappeared. You're like, well, I can't, what? It's going to take like 2 months. You've got 2 weeks. That's exactly the same, right? Instead, this person should be, the deadline's getting tight. We maybe have a month left. There's a risk we might have to cut a week of testing, right? All those small increments. So Ben can meet him in the middle and go, cool, I can take a risk-based approach. I can cut things down. I can only look at the areas that I'm most concerned with. Constructive conversation. Thank you very much. I can ask you to sit down now. Cheers. Round of applause. You have to look at the acronym anymore. So, I told this is going to be all the way. No dress rehearsal. That's cool, isn't it? Yeah, I did that as well. So, just to provide a bit of a stoic lens on it and then give you some time back because I've got a train to catch. Also, I do love you all. Appreciate me being here very much. I've come to realise through my stoicism that I wish I could control that interaction, right? That I could just get this person over here to totally get that person's viewpoint. And from that friction, find that common ground. This person doesn't care as much as this person about that thing. And vice versa. I care about the quality of the product and making sure that the user is ultimately satisfied. This person might have that opinion, but ultimately it's more about, I've got to get this off my books on this day because we're going into production in blah. Different viewpoints. I can't expect these two to agree on that point. So creating those little conversations through that friction to meet you in the middle ground, super important. And also, in this example, Ben can control the conversation and when he's having it with Lee, and vice versa. Lee can control when he's having the conversation and how he has it, as opposed to expecting Lee to just not be upset about it and vice versa. Just do it in 2 weeks. Like, no, right? It's not going to work. So hopefully for the Stoic perspective on that is I can only control my own actions and how I act on those things. And that friction is just a signal to to do something about it. What I'm hoping you get from this me yabbering for the last 20 minutes is that don't wait to act on that feeling. Don't wait until the death's door. We're about to go into open the cab. I don't know why I'm opening it that way. And then I don't think it should go out. Right, that's too late. The conversation should have been a series of conversations getting to this point. Right? Same with your product roadmaps. You shouldn't be at the death, we're about to go into production. I don't think we can do that. It's too late to have the conversation. The friction was felt much earlier in that journey. When you feel it, act upon it. Don't worry about my acronym. Act on the friction is what I'm hoping you get from this. And that friction is telling you there's a quality concern. So act upon it. I realise I've only rambled for 23 minutes because I'm timing it. Does anyone have any questions? No? Thank you. Yes.
I don't know if you have an answer to this. It's always amazed me how something that you said at the beginning, that when you talk to people separately, then it's easier to find that common ground. Why on earth do the same people then go in a room if you don't talk to them and they're not able to have that same movement? I was just interested in, is it that there's so much friction coming from everyone?
No, yeah, if you think about like, so I'm going to use a parent analogy. So how my son acts when he's in the room versus with his mum versus when I'm in the room. And he's like just terrorizing her and I just walk in, he goes, I'm not going to stop doing that. Because Dad's here. And then Dad's gone and I want to do something else. Right? And vice versa, the way that he's loving to her, different to me. So people act differently in a group setting. So there's that social dynamic, but there's also peers, right? So how I talk to my boss on a call, actually it's a really bad example, Sam. It's a really bad example. How most people talk to their boss is different how they talk to their friends, right? So, because there's a social expectation that, well, he or she's in charge of me, therefore they have control and power over how I act and talk. So I'm going to maybe change the way, even subconsciously, how I talk to someone. And then that's even worse when it's in a big group of people. Like me acting weird now is weirder because there's lots more people in the room. If it's just me and Sam doing a dress rehearsal, it'd be less weird, probably more weird. Be more weird, Sam? Bad example. There's the social dynamic and how people act as groups definitely affects people. That's why CAB is almost like a court. It's like, come peasant, attend the court of CAB, and you shall be assessed whether thou shalt go into production, right? It's very informal and people act in a different way. I suppose if I go to infrastructure, here's what we're doing, here's how we're doing it, any problems with that? Yeah, it's great, mate, no problems. And then if someone says no on the call, infrastructure's like, actually, I've got a problem as well. It's like, well, I just spoke to you last week. What's changed? What's changed is you're now in a big group. And there's the social expectation that the group acts the same way. Groupthink, right? I'm very rambly. I don't know if I've answered the question.
I just feel like I'm missing out on a part of life because exactly the same. I'm the same if you talk to me in private versus if you talk to me in a group of people. And I think just that's always baffled me that I don't understand that people act differently in different rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Any other questions? Apart from Steve, what have you been drinking?
Yeah.
Just water, I promise.
How many times have you found yourself not being so politically correct in them types of situations?
So, I'm actually counting. No, I think like I said it before, but you have to tell people stuff that they don't want to hear. right? That takes a particular type of communication skill that isn't easily taught. And I don't think certainly taught in a course. I didn't go to a course and go, how do I tell something to someone that's terrible, right? I'm telling them no, everyone else is telling them yes. So it's a really difficult thing to have. So adding a bit of humour definitely helps. But also being honest about your opinion and being pragmatic. I was on, I think I said it on Brian's podcast. I was like, I'm viciously pragmatic, right? To the point of like, I don't care as long as it'll work for somebody. I don't care about process, the tools we've used, the testing that we've done, the governance we're going through. Does it work? And will it give us the level of quality that we're comfortable with? Crack on, man. If you take that level of pragmatism into those really difficult conversations, it gives space for someone else to work into. If you just draw a big box and just go, if you cross that line, I'm going to go mental at you, right? People are just not going to go anywhere near it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have red lines that I would definitely push back against a client or against somebody on. But it's understanding that most of the time, those red lines are very rarely breached, and obviously there's a lot more nuance on a release than anything else. I don't know if I answered the question, Sam. I don't think I did.
No, you did slightly, because I think it comes down to egos as well with
Yes.
friction. And I think sometimes, like you just said there, if you've got the ego and understand that you're ultimately just trying to get to a good place as a mutual group, process, decision, whatever it is. But sometimes some people do need a little...
Yeah, and I've been on, to go back to your question, answer it. I've been in cabs where like the biggest ego in the room was the one who had arbitrary say of it. So he's like the king of the court. So as long as he was on side, he shall not be named. Like everyone else towed the line, right? That's just the power structure that's been built into the client and how they work. That's just politics. Nothing to do with testing, nothing to do with quality. But but as a tester, I still need to know that that's the case. Okay, cool. He's the chief of the committee. That definitely exists as well. It's a lot. It's just politics and how humans like to interact in social settings. I hope any of this was useful. Thank you very much. Cheers.